you with that. You know exactly what happened.
I don't actually know.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You for bringing that up.
For
you.
In this video, we'll be talking about some recent shifts, specifically with Garcelle Beauvais and Sutton Stracke from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Right. The main thing catching everyone's eye is Garcelle unfollowing Sutton on Instagram.
Yeah, and that seems to confirm those earlier reports about the reunion.
The timing suggests it's linked to the reavers that Sutton, well, didn't support Garcelle, which might have influenced Garcelle leaving the show.
A very public way to signal something's changed.
Definitely. Especially in that world, social media actions speak volumes.
But what's interesting is, if you actually look, she hasn't unfollowed everything Sutton related.
Oh, like what?
Well, she's still following Sutton's businesses. You know, the Sutton Concept, both the main one and the events page.
Ah, okay. So not the personal profile, but the business ones are still there.
Exactly. So does that mean it's like a personal issue, not a complete cutoff?
That's a really good point. It could suggest a boundary being drawn, separating the personal friendship or maybe the perceived friendship from any professional courtesy or connection.
Maybe.
It implies the rift is more on that personal level, which fits with the reunion story.
And it wasn't just Sutton she unfollowed, right? There were others.
Correct. The list includes Kyle Richards, Dorit Kemsley, Erica Jane, and also Bozoma St. John. Quite a few of the main cast.
But she is still following Kathy Hilton and Jennifer Tilly.
Right. The friends of the show.
So what does that pattern tell us? Keeping the friends, dropping the main cast members she had issues with.
Well, it certainly looks like a deliberate selection. Keeping Kathy and Jennifer, who often operate slightly outside the core group drama, while distancing herself from the others, it suggests she's maybe redefining her circle post-show.
Around the same time all this was happening, she put up that Instagram post too.
Ah, yes, the message about healing.
Yeah, saying she hadn't changed, but she'd healed, learned, grew, set boundaries, put herself first.
That post really seems like her explaining her actions, you know, framing these unfollows not just as cutting ties, but as part of her own personal growth. It connects directly to reports that came out suggesting she felt let down.
The insider information.
Exactly. That source claimed Garcelle hadn't been talking to much of the cast since leaving, and felt particularly let down by Sutton. The same insider also mentioned that Garcelle felt she was genuine in her friendships on the show, but it wasn't reciprocated, and that the reunion and things that happened afterwards were a wake-up call for her.
So a real feeling of disillusionment maybe, like the reality wasn't matching the expectation.
That seems to be the implication. A sense that the support, especially from someone she considered a close friend like Sutton, just wasn't there when it counted.
And now we're just sort of waiting to see what happens next, I guess.
If you don't want to miss any of these updates, make sure you subscribe to Realty TV and definitely hit that bell icon.
Absolutely. Stay in the loop.
There was quite a bit of noise about Meredith Marks possibly being suspended from filming season 6. What actually happened there?
Yeah, that rumor definitely made the rounds. It started with whispers about a huge fight between Meredith and Britani Bateman.
Right, and some really serious accusations thrown around, apparently, like calling her an anti-Semite.
Exactly. And then there were other reports from places like Bravo Snark's side hinting that Meredith was also feuding with Heather, Whitney, and Angie. So it painted this picture of her being totally isolated.
So a full-on pile-on situation was the rumor, but was she actually suspended?
Well, no. That's where it gets interesting. Both an insider for the U.S. Sun and Bryce Sander from ET confirmed pretty quickly that she was not suspended. She was filming.
Okay, so the suspension part was just online chatter gone wild.
Seems like it. And, you know, that U.S. Sun source even suggested Meredith thinks Britani might have started the rumor herself.
Oh, really? To, what, get more attention? Gain relevance?
That seems to be the theory, yeah. But look, even though the suspension wasn't real, the report did say there have been some really nasty altercations between Meredith and Britani.
Okay. So there was real tension there.
Definitely. Blowout fights, apparently, over politics, personal stuff described as below the belt. So smoke, but the fire wasn't exactly suspension worthy, you know.
Gotcha. And it sounds like season 6 might dig into other areas for Meredith, too. Something about her husband, Seth.
That's the buzz, yeah. Rumors that Heather, Whitney, and Angie might bring up alleged cheating involving Seth.
Wow. Okay. That would certainly stir the pot.
For sure.
Okay. Next update we have about New Jersey. Jenn Fessler has been talking about casting for RHONJ.
She has. She was on Page 6 Radio and confirmed, yeah, they were actively looking for new people for next season.
Did she give any, like, inside details?
Well, she had this funny story about being at a nail salon and running into someone who actually mentioned she was interviewing for the show.
Did Jenn think she had the right vibe?
Jenn's response was basically, she seems really nice, so no, which, it's kind of a classic Housewives take on things.
Right, drama being the key ingredient. But she also got a bit reflective about her own time on the show, didn't she?
She really did. Said looking back, she felt she kissed a little too much of Sierra early on.
Interesting, like she was trying too hard to fit in.
Yeah, and that if she could redo it, she'd eat a little bit less August, as she put it. She specifically mentioned that moment where she told Margaret Josephs she wasn't her soldier.
Ah, yes, I remember that scene, standing her ground.
And she expressed frustration with Margaret, Rachel Fuda, and Melissa Gorga, kind of telling me what to do regarding how she interacted with Teresa Giudice.
Okay, let's move over to Summer House. Paige DeSorbo opened up quite a bit about her breakup with Craig Conover.
Yeah, in a Glamour interview, she was pretty candid. She talked about how, marriage and kids were something she thought she wanted.
Right, the initial plan.
But then her career as an influencer really took off, and she realized how much she loved her independence, prioritizing herself and her work.
Makes sense. That happens.
Definitely. And she called the breakup the hardest thing she's done, partly because she was nervous about the backlash, the public reaction.
Which is always a factor when your life is on TV.
She hinted pretty strongly at an end date for her time on the show. Said she feels like she doesn't quite fit into the original show idea anymore. She even acknowledged people saying she's a little too old for it now. She mentioned not being able to handle consecutive nights of drinking because of her job. It's just a different phase of life.
Did she float the idea of maybe jumping to a Housewives franchise?
He touched on it, yeah. Didn't totally rule out RHOY, but she called it a difficult franchise to join. Said she wouldn't never say never, but it didn't sound like an immediate plan.
Okay, understandable. Now, shifting tone quite a bit.
Yeah.
Some really tragic news out of Orange County involving Lydia McLaughlin.
Yes, unfortunately. Reports confirmed that her brother, Jeffrey Shyam Sterling, was fatally shot by police during a traffic stop. Just awful news.
That's terrible. Do we know much about the circumstances?
Well, TMZ reported that Jeffrey, who was 45, was pulled over on his motorcycle in Newport Beach. Things apparently escalated. He reportedly became uncooperative.
Oh, no.
Yeah, leading to a confrontation, and at least one officer fired their weapon. He was taken to the hospital but didn't survive. No officers were injured.
And there's an investigation underway.
Yes, the California Attorney General's office is conducting an independent investigation, which is standard in these situations.
Has Lydia said anything publicly?
She gave a statement to TMZ, just saying the family is devastated and thanking people for their support, but asking for privacy.
Yeah, absolutely understandable. And didn't they just lose their mother recently, too?
Yes,
Yep.
This happened just 6 months after her mother, Judy Sterling, passed away. Just an incredibly difficult time for that family.
Absolutely. Our thoughts are definitely with them.
Okay, next update we have about Potomac, Karen Huger's DUI sentence.
There was a development regarding work release.
That's right. So initially, corrections officials had actually approved her transfer to a rehab and treatment facility, which could have included work release.
Okay, that sounded like a potentially positive step.
It did, but then the judge denied the work release itself. So she won't be going to that pre-release center.
Oh, wow. Any idea why the denial?
Well, her defense attorney basically put it down to horrible luck with the specific judge, Terrence McGann, who apparently has a reputation for being pretty tough, especially on DUIs.
So just the luck of the draw with the judge.
That's what the attorney suggested. Another lawyer for Karen expressed disappointment, saying the center would have offered good resources, help, job opportunities, things like that.
And this denial pretty much kills any chance of her filming season 10 of RHOP while serving her sentence, right?
Completely. Work release had strict rules, no places serving alcohol, no recording allowed. So filming would have been impossible anyway, but now she won't even be in that program.
Right. And wasn't there talk at the reunion about a plea deal she turned down?
Yeah, Giselle brought that up. Apparently, Karen was offered a deal that might have involved house arrest, but she chose to go through the court process instead.
And her history might have played a role in the judge's decision, too.
Very likely. This wasn't her first DUI-related case. Reports mention 4 prior ones. So the judge might have felt a stronger message was needed.
Makes sense. Stacey Stewart from Mothers Against Drunk Driving suggested the judge wanted to emphasize the need for real behavioral change.
Exactly. So despite the denial, Karen will still get good behavior credits. The expectation is she'll likely be released sometime in November.
Okay.
I am allowed to
Kristen,
disagree with my friends. This is not me coming for her in any way.
Correct.
I don't like what she said on the after show about, it was kind of her defending Zack, saying, well, you know, that's like his mortal enemy. So what are you going to say about your mortal enemy? And, you know, he has a colorful way of speaking when he's drunk.
I heard that. And yeah.
The colors are black. They're dark. That's his colorful way of speaking when he's...
Let's wrap up our reality TV news with the Valley. Scheana Shay weighed in on that feud between Zack Wickham and Janet Caperna.
She did on her podcast Shenanigans. She was specifically talking about Kristen Doute defending Zack.
And Scheana wasn't buying the defense.
Not really, no. She took issue with Kristen saying on the after show that Zack just has a colorful way of speaking when he's drunk.
Okay.
Scheana said his colors are more like black and dark. She hinted there's more serious stuff coming this season that shows a harsher side, implying his behavior was more than just drunken rambling, actually hurtful. She brought up Janet's past mental health struggles, including a time Janet was reportedly on a 72-hour hold after an alleged suicide attempt.
Oh, wow, that's sensitive territory.
Extremely. And Scheana heavily implied Zack weaponized that against Janet. She also revealed Zack apparently said things off camera that were bad enough to make his best friend, Brittany Cartwright, cut him off for many, many months.
So this goes deeper than just on-camera spats.
Absolutely. Scheana even talked about Brittany recently, considering giving Zack grace, sort of like Scheana did with Tom Sandoval. But then Scheana described seeing Zack at Brittany's birthday. He apparently tried to apologize to Scheana, but she felt it wasn't the right time or place.
Okay.
And then, according to Scheana, right after that interaction, Zack turned around and made a similarly nasty comment about another person they both care about.
Yikes. So the pattern continues, in Scheana's view.
Seems like it. Definitely sounds like the fallout from the Valley is far from over.
Well, as always, the reality TV world keeps spinning. So much happening. If you don't want to miss any of these updates, make sure you subscribe to Real TV and definitely hit that bell icon.
Absolutely. Stay in the loop.
Thank you for watching this video. See you tomorrow.